Today on Locked On Red Wings, the Griffins are blanked and Cossa is chased in Game 1 against the Texas Stars.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's also over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a sports writer for C&G newspapers, while I am a color commentator for Oakland University ACHA D1 men's hockey. It's a couple days old at this point by the time listening to this, but no time better than the present to cover the Griffins' loss to the Texas Stars, as they kind of come out and start the series with a bit of a whimper, Scotty, losing 4-0 in Game 1, a best-of-5 series in the divisional round of the HL playoffs. We'll talk about that and the reasons why they lost that hockey game. But first, got to let you guys know today's episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No culture needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. Scotty, I think there are two kind of leading reasons as to two leading things, let's say, to talk about when breaking down the loss to the Texas Stars, and that's the anemic offense that the Grand Rapids Griffins had, almost said Detroit Red Wings.
Freudian.
Yeah, a little bit of Freudian slip. And also Sebastian Cossa getting chased, 4 goals on fewer than 20 shots. Where do you want to lead off with?
You know, I think I want to lead off with the offense. We had talked about it a little bit throughout the day today, and it's just the shots ended up being 30-29, I think.
Yeah, pretty even.
So they end up being pretty even, but this is like the textbook example of, you know, our favorite meme where it's like, I'm gonna look at the box score and argue with people that watch the game. Like this is the perfect example of that, because these offenses were not the same, man. Like because the shots ended up being pretty even at the end. If you watch this hockey game, it was night and day difference. That it was I don't even know the terminology I want to use to really describe it. It just was not intimidating. Like it wasn't, there was no fear that the Griffins, we're going to do that a lot, I'm imagining this episode, that the Griffins were going to like answer the any really goal that was against them. There was no confidence and no fear that was kind of instilled. It was not that it was like a lackadaisical, like, oh, you know, they were just out there going through the motions or whatever, but when you talk about quantity versus quality, I mean, the quality of shot difference between what the Stars were doing and what the Griffins were doing were night and day.
Yeah, 100%. I think that with the Griffins, too, is just, and I've noticed this when watching their games before the season ended, right? The MBN and ASP debuts. I wanted to check those out and recap those games. I noticed the same problem is there's just a stark lack of high danger opportunities. They had a couple. I remember Gettinger had a good opportunity in the first period, I think it was. Dries had an opportunity too. But overall, like, a lot of their shots feel like they're coming from the perimeter or they're coming from the side of the net. They're not really getting to the heart of the zone very often. In fact, hey, we got a pretty neat heat map with on AHL.com, which I didn't expect. And you can see
what a beauty.
Here,
what a beauty the American Hockey League is, man.
Look at this. Look at this. Showing you exactly where every shot was taken. And you can see a lot of the shots for the Griffins come from the sides of the net here. Only really a couple coming from down the middle. You compare that to the Texas Stars, right out in net front, right down the middle. A lot of those shot opportunities that the Griffins were getting just were not from high danger areas. A lot of them were from medium or low danger areas. You can see a bunch taken up here and along the boards as well. They just really struggle. And I noticed this back when they were playing at the end of the season. I noticed that then too, that they just really struggle to get shots in high danger areas. They can't get the puck there. They get shut down before then.
Yeah, and I think one of the easiest kind of tellers on the heat map there was you just look at in between the circles. It's very crowded on one side of the ice and very wide open on the other side. And obviously, you know, taking advantage and getting the puck into the slot is something that, as you just brought up, that they struggled to do too. So it's just, yeah, man. And the roster shouldn't, I don't think you look at the roster and you think, wow, this should be a high-powered, like high-flying, really awesome, exciting offense. But I don't think that it should be, you know, get shut out in a playoff game and not really walk away with too many high-danger opportunities bad either. So I think hopefully just an off night, you know, they bounce back as the series goes along. But certainly it was very apparent that they were missing some high-powered and high-octane offense.
So I'm glad you mentioned the roster too, because I do think, and I'm not using this as like a blanket, this is why they lost because of the chemistry, but there have been a lot of roster changes in the last couple of weeks for the Griffins. Now, granted, this is where you can't really use this excuse to explain everything because they've been struggling since before call-ups began with the Griffins and the Red Wings, you know, getting subsequent injuries. But you think about who on this team is new on their lineup, their starting lineup, again, like Soderblom is returning player. Watson is a returning player. Shine was a returning player. Guys who were in the NHL for long stretches of the time. Emmett Finney joined this team after his season ended. Brandsegg-Nygard joined the team after his season ended. Same with Sandin Pellikka, Anton Johansson. You know, there are a lot of players on this team who were not here or were with the Detroit Red Wings, you know, were here and then left a month or two ago.
In Europe.
Right. So, like, the roster has seen a lot of sudden changes. Now, a lot of the sudden changes are an influx of talent. So that's where it's like, okay, well, even though there's a chemistry fluctuation with all these new faces and returning faces, you can't use that excuse because, again, they floundered before this, but they also, with the talent that have returned, they should also be better. I do think that does explain some of the struggles, but at the same time, it's just like, a lot of it is, honestly, I felt like I was watching Red Wings hockey at times with the way that, yeah, the shot counts were close, but the Texas Stars, rather, just dominated play. The Texas Stars, a lot of the time during the game, had the puck in the offensive zone. They were winning all the board battles. They kept cycling, and the Griffins would come down the ice, and they would try to create an opportunity off the rush, try to force a pass to the middle, create a turnover or come back, or instead of trying to force a pass to the middle or make a move to the middle, they would take a shot from around the perimeter or the side of the net and then turn the puck over and come back down the ice. A lot of unforced turnovers too, like trying to make passes through the neutral zone. Just really sloppy play from the Griffins, which is just so shocking because you think about how the second half of last season went combined with the first half of this season. You had a full season's worth of games where the Griffins looked like one of the best teams in the Central Division. And then they just kind of, the offensive spark just kind of crumbled in the second half of this year, and they're still struggling. And you can't even use the layoff as an excuse, right? You'd be like, oh, they had a week off. But so did the Stars. The Stars also got the bye to the divisional round. So it's just, you got outplayed, flat out. That's just the end of the day. That's what happened.
Yeah, I don't disagree, man. I think that this was, again, a situation where the offense should have been better. And like, that is really easy to say after a shutout, I guess. But this was a situation where the high danger opportunities should have been more plentiful. And again, it's not as though they weren't able to put the puck on net and they weren't able to enter the zone. Like they just got pushed outside way too easily. And so, yeah, hopefully, you know, a couple of games under their belt, as you mentioned, roster turnover. Hopefully the whole series doesn't look like this, but certainly a rough night to kick off the postseason for Grand Rapids.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Sebastian Cossa because that's kind of the other half of the rough night that we need to talk about in segment 2. So stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When you start using Monarch, you're going to realize how much you're spending on food delivery, on subscriptions, and now you can budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever as well. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, Sebastian Cossa allowed 4 goals on 19 shots against, getting yanked in this game. Definitely not the performance you want to see right on the heels of what Yzerman has spoken about with Cossa just hours before that. But surely not all of it was his fault. What'd you make of Kossa's performance?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's kind of written on the show sheet there, so you can cheat and figure out where we're going with it. But like the defense was not very. I'm sure, dude. The defense was not was not very good. There was a handful of defensive breakdowns. Was it the second or the third goal specifically? I thought was pretty darn egregious. But I think really in general, he obviously wasn't very sharp either. Getting chased out of a playoff game is never something you really want to see. And as you said, the fact that it comes right after Yzerman was like, we kind of want to see him take another step forward. We're waiting for,
mentioning
whatever.
That he struggled in the second half of the season.
Struggling in the second half, whatever. So, I mean, we'll see. I'd imagine he gets the net. For whatever it's worth, Campbell went out there and had a 100% save percentage the rest of the outing, so that's nice. I don't think the defense did him any favors, but I think this is a pretty classic, which happened plenty in Detroit this year, so we're used to it. But, both things can be true at the same time type of situation.
Right, and there's just because he had a bad game 1 doesn't mean he's not going to bounce back in game 2. Hopefully 3, 4, and 5. Well, 3 for sure because it's a best of 5, so you need to get 3 wins. But games 3, 4, and 5 as well, assuming it goes that far, and have good performances too. I remember last year he had a not this bad, but he had a couple of performances where he was just okay and then kind of locked in for the rest of the playoffs up until they got eliminated. So I'm not overly concerned with his performance. And you're right, 2 of those goals, I would say just defensive breakdowns, right? The Capobianco goal was a deflection down low in front. Can't do anything about that, especially with all that traffic. The Curtis McKenzie one became a 2-on-1 because of a defensive breakdown on the forward's part. The puck carrier came in and he dropped the puck off to another player. The defenseman followed the puck carrier. The other defenseman stayed with the guy who made the pass, and a third late guy came in, which was the forward, back-checking forward's job to continue to cover, and he did not cover that, allowing it to become then a 2-on-1 because the other defenseman stayed with the passer up high. And so that was a defensive breakdown on the forward's part. Again, sounding a lot like a Red Wings hockey game, where it ended up being a 2-on-1. Cossa, I think he could have made the save. I think that one ended up going 5-hole, if I'm recalling correctly. But also, I'm not blaming him for that because that was more so to do with the defensive breakdown from the forwards than anything. Now, goals. In goal 3, which was the power play goal for the Texas Stars, that was a tic-tac-toe play. That was another one where guys just didn't have their guys covered. Now, that one definitely went between the 5-hole, and that's one you need to save if you're Sebastian Cossa, especially with the size that he has. But again, the shot came from point-blank range in front because nobody had the guy covered. The 4th goal is probably the only goal where I go, yes, Cossa is 100% to blame for that one. Another one that just went right through the 5-hole. The other ones, there's other blame to go around. And I'm not trying to make excuse for Sebastian Cossa. He did not have a great game. Even with the exception of the Capobianco goal, that was a deflection. I think you could argue he could have made the save on all of those other 3 goals. But the fourth goal is specifically the one where it's like, yeah, that's on Cossa. So he does need to be better if he's going to take the next step. But also, one bad performance in game one of a playoff series does not also mean he's going to play poorly in games 2, 3, hopefully 4 or 5.
Right. No, absolutely. And that's, I think that honestly, that is really important. Like, I think it's really important to go out there and have a bounce back game 2 and kind of immediately just respond. I think that that's a big step, not only for just the playoff hopes, right? That's fairly obvious, but for his development too, right? Like you want a guy to, especially again, as right after the front office kind of talks about the areas where he's struggling, to go back out there and prove that it was just a one-off kind of performance and that he's still one of the better goalie prospects in the NHL.
Right, and you look at where these goals came from too, right? Scotty throwing that heat map back up, taking the shots away. Every single one of those goals, right from the high danger, right from the low slot. Just that you can't, as a defensive structure, allow all your goals to come from right there. There's something wrong defensively that this team is doing, that all 4 goals came from almost the exact same spot between the hash marks. That's also an indictment on how they're playing defense. So the offense was non-existent in terms of quality. The defense was allowing a lot of high danger opportunities, and Cossa wasn't particularly good either. So kind of just all around a Texas Stars domination in game 1.
Yeah, it sure was. It sure was.
And the Griffins weren't without their power play chances either, too. Like, you look at the power play, they had 3 opportunities, and only, honestly, one of them, I thought that they had, like, good puck movement and were doing some things right. And honestly, the player that stood out to me on the power plays were, and, you know, I'm talking strictly about the power play because there is still more to talk about with this player at their 5-on-5 performance, but Axel Sandin-Pellikka and Amadeus Lombardi. Axel Sandin-Pellikka on the power play, in particular the 1 out of 3, so it's not like a strong endorsement, but this is what he excels at, and he'll get better at as time goes on. There were a couple times where he took a little bit too much time with the puck, not used to having less space on North American ice, but his puck movement, his ability to get the puck to his teammates up top and create space for himself to receive a pass was really impressive. But also Amadeus Lombardi, I noticed this in the 2 games that I watched prior to the playoffs. He plays that kind of, he doesn't really necessarily play on the left half wall. He kind of floats at the top of the circle near the half wall, but he stays high, and they feed Amadeus Lombardi a lot for shots, and he gets a lot of strong shots. He scored from that spot on the power play in one of the 2 games I watched previous. He looks like the lethal shooter that we were kind of sold on him as when he came over from Flint. So it does make me happy. Again, they lost 4-0. This is a small silver lining, but seeing Amadeus Lombardi be treated as a scoring threat does bring some joy to me, because he was a 4th-round pick. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing, and we've talked about this before, I feel like maybe even last year, I think the most notable thing for me is just watching him skate, man. Like he, you know, like there is, dude, he is fast, and he is a really good skater at, you know, compared to his peers in that league. And that's something that, you know, was not a question mark, but people were saying, okay, like he's clearly way too fast in Flint for that league. So like, what is he going to look like when he gets adjusted to the American? And it's been fantastic. And that certainly has not fallen off. And since, you know, dealt with injury stuff at the beginning of the year, and since coming back, it's been really solid.
You know, talking about ASP, I mentioned him there at power play. What'd you make of his? And let's just group Michael brandsegg-nygard in there too, because of course those are the 2 guys that a lot of Red Wings fans are watching right now, with them making their North American debuts last week.
Yeah, you know, I think that, you know, some more games is kind of what I want more than anything else. I'm not going to take too much out of what is this, their second AHL game, second or third, AHL game. Like I'm not going to take a ton out of it. It was pretty, what was the thing we used to say with Lalonde hockey? Not uneventful, but low event.
Low
I
event.
Guess, same thing. That's kind of how I felt when they were on the ice. But like, again, it's They'll be fine. Like I want more games to watch. Really is what I left these performances thinking.
And you'll get more games to watch. They have.
Will I?
Worst case scenario, they get
Lucky
swept.
me.
They still got another 2 games left.
Right.
But I agree. Like ASP, kind of the same sentiments that I echoed after the first 2 games. Is he's really good on the power play at puck movement and getting open for a shot. But at 5-on-5, you can really tell the size of the ice is affecting him and the size of the players, too, because he's playing with bigger, stronger guys. He kind of gets bullied in the defensive zone. Doesn't really get engaged in those board battles to win them. Michael brandsegg-nygard, MBN, honestly, I haven't really noticed him a whole heck of a lot. And granted, Tuesday's game, by the time people are listening to this, he was playing on the 4th line. So he wasn't getting a ton of ice time to begin with, which makes it harder to notice him out there because he's not out there very often. But I'm with you where it's just like, obviously the jury's still out on all these guys, right? It's the Grand Rapids Griffins, the AHL. It's for prospects and development. But the jury's really out on my opinion and judgment on those 2 guys because they're still getting used to this team, this ice, this league.
For sure.
Let's go to a quick break. When we return, we'll finish up any thoughts we have on the Griffins' 4-0 loss, and then we'll just say a quick farewell to Valteri Filppula as he formally announces his retirement from hockey. Stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports College Football to Call of Duty as easily as you stream your favorite shows. Head to Amazon.com/FireTV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast.
Did I what?
I saw you really quickly, like adjusting your shirt, and I was wondering if you had changed. And
no, I have not. You can check the tape.
I was like, if you did,
I'm not a weirdo like you, dude.
I wasn't really paying attention. I wasn't really paying attention to what shirt you were wearing. So I'm like, if he changed, I'm going to give him crap.
Michigan diving shirt, and it's been on the whole time. So
Detroit Red Wings polo that I've been wearing this whole time. I'm cooler than you.
You have to brag about the fact that you haven't changed clothes because you're such a weirdo. Yeah.
All right. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings. Scotty, anything else that stand out to you in this game against the Texas Stars?
Not really. I think we hit the biggest points. I mean, in a game in which you get shut out, there's not going to be a ton to really grab from it in general. I think one of the things for me that was just really disappointing was the blue line, right? And we kind of talked about earlier the defensive lapses, and now some of those were on forwards, obviously, but just as really good defensemen have been promoted from Grand Rapids over the years, now it's a situation where it's kind of a revolving door, and they're trying to add more of the young talent that's in the pipeline to throw on there, but I thought they kind of looked scattered and a little bit all over the place. So hopefully that's something that's tightened up.
Yes, I agree. Couldn't agree with you more. And I think that's a good spot to leave it. The next Griffins game is on Monday, which is crazy. Ridiculous. They're not even changing cities. I actually texted Andrew about this because I was like, why in the world is the Griffins, who are staying in the city, have a game nearly a week apart? And he goes, because there's other events at Van Andel. I'm like, what? They don't even get priority at their own rink? He's like, welcome to AHL hockey. And he sent me the list of the events that is happening at Van Andel, and it's objectively hilarious. So
careful. All right, let's be careful.
Thursday.
You can read them. I'm just saying, like, don't let's not piss off anybody if there's some cool events going on at Van Andel, dude.
Well, the first event is very cool. I'm a big fan because it's my favorite band. Linkin Park is on Thursday. Gotta love that.
What are they hosting? Anime Club later? What's going on?
No.
Here?
There's one coming later that you're gonna love. So May 2nd and May 5th is the Grand Rapids May 2nd and April 30th was the Grand Rapids Rise, which is the professional volleyball team. Mm-hmm. So I understand, not being able to move that. But on May 4th, it's the GR Symphony presents Star Wars: A New Hope. And I'm like,
that's sick.
I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but I'm like, it's insane that this is your arena and you can't even get priority in it. Like, they won't move events for your own playoff
sick,
run.
Dude. That's sick.
I just was like, it's objectively hilarious that the AHL team in their own building can't get priority to move other events around.
Yeah,
and so we get a week off between playoff games.
They don't get playoff priority for sure. Obviously, they're like, I know, I get it. I agree with you. It's weird to see, but like, they're not like double booking regular season games that they know are going to happen, a year in advance. Like you can't really plan for the postseason. So here we are.
Yeah, that's it. And I also understand it's American League hockey. Like, that is how it works. Like, it's not the NHL, so they're not going to move anything around for you. It's the schedule is the schedule. It's just wild to me they didn't think that, oh wait, this team that made the playoffs last year might make the playoffs again, so maybe we should leave a couple dates open. They're like, let's just book it up.
Let's just fill it up. It's also that's May the 4th. What, are you gonna not have a Star Wars thing on May the 4th, dude? Grow up, all right?
Yes. You just don't have
You don't get it.
I mean, I'm sure all those events are going to be fun. I get not moving the professional volleyball.
At the GR Symphony Orchestra, okay? Don't let Brian fool you. Don't let Brian belittle you, okay?
This isn't about the events that are taking place, more so about the fact that Van Andel didn't have the forethought to be like, maybe we shouldn't book around the time the team that made the playoffs.
The May forethought?
Oh my God,
May the 4th be with you.
Because I'm sure all those events are going to rock. I know Lincoln Park's going to rock. I love me some Lincoln Park.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Dude, you should look at my spot. Well, every year on my top 5, they're right there. You see my Spotify rap.
3 years in a row now. Yes, I'm aware.
It's anime music. It's Taylor Swift because of Allison, and then there's Lincoln Park. Lincoln Park's always on
Allison. We're so sure, dude.
Who do you? Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like some of Taylor's music, but not to that extent. Valteri Filppula retired, Scotty. Just want to say congratulations to him on an incredible career. Over 1,000 games played in the NHL and part of the 2008 Stanley Cup Championship.
Yep.
So just a fantastic career, and want to say good luck to him as he moves on to being a civilian like the rest of us.
Yeah, man. No, it's honestly the coolest part of the announcement was just knowing that he's just still been playing, dude. Like he's just a hockey guy through and through. And it was obviously a big part of our childhood, and certainly a lot of other people as well. So hopefully he's got some cool stuff planned. I'm sure he'll be around the game of hockey going forward.
Right. He hasn't
I have
played
a hard
NHL.
time believing he's just done with hockey, period. Yeah.
These guys are never done with hockey. They're always involved at some level in some capacity for their entire
lives. Have you seen the Cam Newton clip? Where
probably
Cam
not.
Newton, it's honestly like the first time I watched it, I was like, that gave me chills. But then now it's being used as like a meme everywhere. And I'm like, all right, like whatever. But he's getting interviewed and he gets asked if he thinks he's done playing football. And he goes, I think so. And the interviewer goes, I forget. The interviewer's not like in the clip. So I guess I don't know who it is. But says like, are you saying that with your head or your heart? And he says, my head. And then she goes, what does your heart say? And he goes, it'll never be over. And like, that's
so hard.
And I'm just like, that's what you just said there. That's kind of what that reminds me of. He's like, yeah, like he knows it's time, but like he's not going to give up or quit the game of hockey. That's for sure.
I'm sure that every single player, I mean, crap, dude. Like I played house hockey and I'm the same way. I still play men's league hockey to this day because I can't let go. Like when you love it, you keep pumping, keep pumping out seasons.
Absolutely.
So anyways, any final thoughts, buddy?
We ball, baby.
We ball. We'll round out the week tomorrow with continuing our player evaluation. So stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.